All right, everybody, welcome out to the Locker Room. This is a special Mets Corner edition of the Locker Room Sports Podcast. Jersey Johnny coming at you, and with me, as always, is none other than Mr. Radio Pete. Say hello, Radio Pete. Say
hello, Radio Pete.
There you go. We got to unmute. There we go. We have to unmute. Anyway, how the hell are you tonight, Mr. Radio Pete?
I'm pretty excited because we're going to be talking about the Mets, number one.
Of course.
And a big piece of history. And we got a guy who was right in the thick of it, who kind of made that history, was part of making that history.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, tonight we have a very special.
I don't know anything about stats or whatever. So,
well, yes, you do.
A little bit, but this is more up my alley.
Absolutely. So, anyway, tonight we have a very special show for you all. We have, back in 1984, a young North Jersey man named Dennis Scalzitti came up with a unique idea, I should say, of painting red Ks on poster board and bringing them to Shea Stadium and hanging them over the railing of Section 44 near the left field foul pole. One for every strikeout thrown by the Mets' brand new rookie pitcher named Dwight Gooden, and officially naming it the K Korner. Yeah, folks. And many ballparks, actually, including Citi Field, now have their own digital K Korners. But Dennis, this man, he started it all. So let's welcome to the show right now, Mr. Dennis Scalzitti. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm fired up.
Absolutely. Here. Here's your official banner. Dennis Scalzitti. Shea Stadium K Korner, 84 through 87.
86.
86, actually. Wow.
84, 85, and 86.
86. So there you
go. We retired on the air in April of 87 on the Joe Franklin
show.
There
you go. So it technically is 87.
Yeah, so it's not official till you say we're retired.
There you go.
We announced our retirement on his show. And he said, "Oh, is this going to be page one news tomorrow?" I said, "No, I'm more like page 87 by the used car act."
So, well. So, how are you tonight?
Yeah, very good. I was thinking about this all day. Fired up.
So, yeah, this will be good. This will be good. So, let's roll it all the way back. Let's start back at the beginning when the Earth cooled and the dinosaurs came. When did you first become a baseball fan? Let's start there. Let's go all the way back. To like the 20s, right? Something like that.
No, it wasn't that long ago. I became a baseball fan because my father did some sheetrock work for Fritz Peterson, the pitcher on the Yankees. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't a baseball fan at all. And he told me, "Would you like to come along and meet Fritz Peterson? He's a Major League Baseball pitcher for the Yankees." And, I was just like, "Oh, wow, okay, And
how old were you at the time?
10. Yeah. This was the winter of 1972. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, I go to the guy's house with my father. It was in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, and it was a very modest bi-level, nothing fancy.
Gotcha.
Athletes back then, didn't make a lot of money. It was a big deal at the time that Bobby Mercer was making $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
that was a big deal back then. Nobody made that kind of money. And to cut a long story short, I went to Fritz's house with my dad, and he and my Uncle Joe were, doing some sheetrock work. So I got to meet Fritz, and to me, being a short little 10-year-old kid, he was a big guy, and he was so friendly and so polite. And I have in back of me here, not sure if you can see it or not, I have a couple autographed baseballs that he gave me.
Wow.
And one is the 1972 Yankees. The other one is the 1973 Yankees. Well, he obviously, you can't really see it in that light, darn it. Either way, he gave me the first ball in the winter of 72. I'm going to estimate it was like November. And I saw, in his house, I saw his wife, and I saw a few kids, a few boys, mm-hmm. 2 boys. Now, my father had to go back in the spring of 73. I'm going to take a guess, February or March.
Right.
And this is before the news hit the media. He traded his wife and family and dog to Mike Kekich, another pitcher on the team. That was so unusual because I got to see it with my own young eyes. And my father had to come up with an explanation. Well, Dennis, he traded his wife and family. Even today, that's insane. And it never happened.
That's television.
Today it's still insane, but it's television. Yeah.
It's right.
So that was my introduction to baseball. Can you imagine?
Wife swapping.
Yes. So that's something I never told for some reason. I don't know why, but I never told the media that back then.
Right.
And I'm telling you guys, you're literally the first people to hear this story.
You are.
The question I have is how did that turn you into a fan?
Well,
I mean, did you say, "Well, this is great. I got to get into this baseball thing because you can do anything, I guess."
I get a wife. I'll take it. You want to trade?
It was just
kind of gives a new meaning to trade news in Major League Baseball.
Oh, totally. And so, I started buying baseball cards, buying baseball magazines, reading the sporting news, reading Baseball Digest. I just inhaled all this information and memorized all the stats from all the old days to the current day.
Right.
And so I went to a few games that year, 73, with my mom and dad. Yankee games initially. Yeah. But I also, growing up here in the New York area, followed the Mets on TV. And
73 was a pretty good year for the Mets too.
Oh yeah. But it's ironically, I noticed in school how kids, you either liked the Mets or liked the Yankees.
Could be both.
You couldn't like both. Well, I did. I liked them both. I saw no reason why I couldn't.
Pete has a story about that too. So
yes. So,
you're one of those guys. Okay.
Yeah, one of those guys, quote unquote.
I only say that because my dad was in fact a Yankee fan, but as well as a Jets fan. But he taught me exactly what you just said. If you liked one team from the same city or even the same state, you were obligated to not only dislike the other team, but to hate the other team.
Oh yeah, that was the norm back then.
Yeah, that's stuck with me my whole life. So good to know he wasn't the only psycho who had that point of view,
there you go, yeah.
which he passed on to me. But
and I went to Shea Stadium. I think starting in '74, I started my first trip to Shea Stadium. Either way, bottom line, I was at the last game at the old Yankee Stadium, September 30th, 1973. Fritz started that game for the Yankees. They wound up losing 8-5. And one thing that I'll never forget is the sound of hammers and chisels. People brought tools to the ball game to take apart and remove the seats. And there was no security to stop anybody. I will obviously never forget that. And as we're driving home from the game, we were listening to the Mets game. The Mets were playing the Chicago Cubs, and if they won that day, they would make it to the playoffs. And they did. And they only finished with a record of 82-80.
Yeah, 82-80.
Terrible. And they made the playoffs. They made it to the World Series.
Worst record to get for the Mets of any of the trips that they took to the World Series.
Yeah. So, I rooted for them in the World Series. I hope that they would beat the mighty Oakland A's, but they came one game short.
Close.
Came close.
I have a couple of theories involving some decisions that Yogi made, but that's for another day. Another podcast.
So needless to say, I just became a rabid baseball fan, and so from 74 through 83, let's say. The reason why I say 1983, I came up with that idea to hang K's. I came up with the idea in the shower. That's number one. I get a lot of ideas.
Where all good ideas are.
All good ideas are formed. Absolutely.
I get ideas either in the shower or when I'm driving. I get a lot of ideas when I'm driving.
And if you shower while you're driving, you imagine how many good ideas you'd get then?
Well, either way, I came up with the idea of being a living scorecard because, you go to a ball game and they sell you a scorecard and you keep track of everything that happens. Everything has an abbreviation. And for some strange reason, the abbreviation for strikeout is the letter K. Okay, so I figured let's be a living scorecard. This is what I said to a friend of mine. Let's be a living scorecard at the stadium. Let's go there, sit in the upper deck, worst seats in the house, right by the left field foul pole. I'm going to make up all these Ks. I'm going to paint a red K on a white piece of poster board. And I bought the poster board here in town at the 5 and 10.
You needed 27 of them, right?
Made 27 just in case.
Just in case.
In the rare occasion that he would get 27 strikeouts, which has never been done. But I'm a positive thinker.
Sure, absolutely.
And we showed up for our first game in April of '84, and the media instantly loved us. They put us on Diamond Vision the whole game. And then the New York Daily News the next day had our picture on the back page. And, naturally, I got really excited. The second game that we went to, a guy from the front office came up to where we were sitting, and we were all by ourselves up there. Those were the days.
I mean, you were. Those are the days that you were close to being by yourself in the stadium, not just in that section. But
yeah, they only averaged 10,000 fans a game back then, especially after the lousy 1983 season.
Sure.
So here we are, we're up there. I see the guy coming toward us. I started packing up. I'm like, I'm sorry, we'll pack up. We'll go home. He goes, no, because they love what you're doing. Someone's going to call you tomorrow. And that turned out to be the marketing director, Tim Hamilton. And he called me up. He wanted me to come and meet with him at the stadium. And doing that was a really unusual thing because most people don't think about this or realize that a stadium is nothing more than a giant office building with a baseball field in the middle and a bunch of floors and elevators and offices. I was blown away. I couldn't comprehend that.
It's funny you say that because nothing's more definitely apparent when it comes to like Yankee Stadium now. Nothing to argue, but I don't know if you've been to the new Yankee Stadium.
Oh yeah,
it literally, quite literally, is an office building with a ballpark in the middle of it.
That's it. They all are.
They all are. But yeah, some of them are actually, like I love the design of Citi Field. But,
yeah, I do too.
But yeah, anyway, so continue.
So I met with Tim Hamilton, and he goes, "Look, we love what you're doing," and he wanted to know where we wanted to sit, and I told him section 42. Section 42, upper deck, right by the foul pole. I says, and I'm going to call our section of the stadium the K Korner, and we'll hang the Ks and get the fans going wild. And he was just like excited that I was so enthusiastic, and I wasn't drunk or high on drugs, And I mean, who the hell would want to do that,
That's funny.
But it was just so much fun from day one, right through the very end. And I remember we got to meet everybody. We just got to meet so many people on the team, on opposing teams.
Sure.
We got to go to these games, and they didn't allow us in the press entrance. It was near the press entrance. It was a door. And then once we got into that door, we weren't able, for some reason, to take the elevator up like they would,
sure,
or the escalator like the fans would. We had to run up these concrete ramps going up the stadium, and we were peeling out. We were like running.
The main concrete ramps on the outside of Shea.
No, another set of ramps.
It's separate, not the main ones that everybody was running.
So we're running up these ramps by ourselves, and the fans that were on the escalators and the other ramps, they're like cheering us, giving us, the fist, and it was really weird to be so loved. It was a very strange feeling, and I guess the only analogy I can give you is that it was like being a rock star, because then once we got up to where we needed to go. Once again, the fans would run toward us. They would run toward us and want our autograph and want to take pictures. And then we would walk down to our section and set up the K Korner sign and just wait for the game to begin.
Sure.
And when he had 2 strikes on a batter is when we would stand up with a K above our head, and in unison we would sway back and forth. And this was all, you got to remember, this is all ad lib. This is all like, how do you learn how to do this? You just do it.
Yeah.
Fans loved it. Then we would sometimes run up and down the aisles. I mean, up and down the aisles, sideways, up, down. Fans were going crazy. They were going crazy. And he'd get the K. We'd run down. We would hang it. We had these big orange foam fingers that they sell at the stadium.
Sure.
And every time he got 3 or more, we'd count them down. 1, 2, 3. Fans were going crazy. So I realized, oh my God, like I came up with the right idea at the right time in my life. Fans love it. And then we had T-shirts made up in 1985.
For you.
We used to throw the shirts out at the crowd after every K. Fans were diving after them.
That's
like
great.
They were $100 bills.
The first game you did went to that was his first start at Shea, I believe.
Yeah, because he started on the road in Houston.
He started, yeah, and he had, I believe, his ERA for the first 2 games when he pitched them on the road that season was really high. It was like almost 8. Initially, yeah, but what's oddly enough, that first game was April 19th, I believe, 1984. And that's exactly a week from today. So had we noticed that before we booked this, before we put this together, we could have done it next week and been on the anniversary. But hey, you know what? It's the 37th anniversary.
I'm happy to be here right now. It doesn't matter.
37th. Does it feel like it's 37 years ago?
No, I still feel like I'm. How old was I when I started doing that? 22. Yeah,
I was gonna. You were 2 when you started doing it.
No, 22. And I still feel like I'm 22 today. If it wasn't for the gray hair, I really haven't. My personality hasn't changed one bit.
Well, we're all in our 50s, so
yeah.
If it wasn't for being old, I'd feel 22.
Yeah.
It wasn't for being or feeling old.
Yeah, exactly. I want to ask you a question that our other co-host sort of brought up. I don't know if it was on the air or not, but did you ever worry, because you talked about counting down the 3 Ks?
Oh, yeah.
When he had 3 strikeouts, if none of them were looking, right, with the backwards K, did you ever worry about being in perhaps a
having
photo
3 of those in a row and no others?
No.
In front of you. You never worried about that.
Not even once. The world was a very, very different place.
Different place, yeah.
In 1984. And you know what? Really, I think we've regressed. I think the people in general were so much happier. The music was happier. There was no arguing over race. I thought we got over the racial thing, to be honest with you, after the riots in 1968, which I remember. It's really kind of sad that nowadays people are so sensitive and so offended. Nobody was like that back then. Right. And you could smoke in nightclubs and you could do so many things that you can't do today. What can I say? I'm happy we did the K Korner back then, because now with social media, we probably have a lot of haters.
You were the first time there was 3 Ks up there. You would have been all over social media. Look at these guys. What do they? But yeah, you're right. So getting back to that though. The Mets actually got on board with you.
Big time.
They actually you said before that they provided you security.
Well, that was when. That was in 1985, I remember.
Right.
I don't remember why, but I had to go to the stadium to talk to the front office about something. And I'm talking to Frank Cashin, their general manager. I'm talking to him like I'm talking to you. Like, I'm not afraid of this guy. Just having a conversation with another human being. But either way, he asked me, is there anything I can do for you? I says, well, I'm going to be honest, Frank. I says, the fans can get a little crazy sometimes, and they try to literally overwhelm us and swarm us. We could use some extra security up there. He goes, done. Sure enough, the next game, we each had a security guard assigned to each of us. They were assigned to each of us. So that was pretty cool. And they literally kept people away from us. I told them, I says, I'm not afraid of being mugged or anything like that. I says, but they can get in our way. Right. That's the only reason why I was asked for extra security.
Yeah, that's one of the that's kind of you were talking about sort of being a rock star. It's we've probably all been to a bunch of concerts, but when you see guys up there singing and they want to get the crowd involved, and then people in the crowd are like pulling on them and pulling on their clothes, and I've seen lead singers go, "Hey, man, back off! I want to be here with you, but stop grabbing me, stop trying to drag me into the crowd." So. Right. That's definitely kind of a rock star moment. People just get a little overheated and a little over enthusiastic.
Alcohol helps, but yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of the people were very drunk. We witnessed a lot of really, really bad fist fights in the crowd back then. It really was bad, especially in 1985 when he went 24-4. I mean, fans were crazy. And you have to remember, whenever he pitched, it was an event. I mean, it was an event. It was like going to a rock concert. Yeah. And they averaged a lot more fans when he pitched than the other guys. Not that the other guys weren't good. And, 1984 was a good season for them. They didn't make the playoffs. 1985, there was no wild card back then. No. You either won the division or you didn't.
No, you didn't.
1985 was a really good season. And like I say, the fans really partied hard in the parking lot and inside the stadium.
Sure.
And we got them going even crazier.
1985 too. He had and Pete, we talked about this because we did on the main podcast on Wednesdays last week. Our top 10 was pitchers, top 10 pitchers in Major League Baseball history, and we talked a lot about complete games and how back even 100+ years ago, pitchers like Cy Young had in 5 years he had 184 complete games or whatever it is, and insane. And today, the entire major leagues in the course of 5 years, every pitcher together, cumulative, is not going to throw 184 complete games. But that year when Gooden in '85, when he went 24 and 4, he had 16 complete games.
Amazing.
And that was then, so in 80, it was 85.
And that was probably what he had 35 starts.
30,
nearly half of his starts were complete games.
Nearly half of his starts were complete games.
We went to
he won Cy Young that year too, obviously. So.
Between 1984, 85, and 86, and we saw one playoff game and one World Series game. The one World Series game where Billy Joel sang the national anthem.
Okay.
We went to a grand total of 48 games, and we used to get a press pass. Like people often ask me, how did you get into the stadium? We didn't just walk in. You do have to show something.
Sure.
And at one of the ticket booths, little window there they used to have, and they knew me when they saw me. I didn't even have to tell them my name, but they would give me a piece of paper, and it had the date of the game on it, the section 42, and I still have all those down in my archive. I have all my original Ks. I even have the Ks that Nike gave us in 1986. We were the only two fans to sign a shoe contract, I think, to this day. Yeah, isn't that weird?
That's
and
crazy.
it had their own design on it of a baseball with a flame coming out of it within a K, blue and orange and white color. And they signed us to a shoe contract. They gave us $3,000 each. Merchandise. They gave us a catalog, and they said, "Pick whatever you want." I mean, what am I going to pick? I picked the original Air Jordans.
Right.
I picked a couple sweatsuits, some T-shirts. What did I need? I didn't need much. I gave a lot of stuff to my friends.
Today, $3,000 worth of Nike merchandise that you could get like 3 jerseys for that.
Had you known, he could have gotten 5 or 6 pairs of Jordans, and
right. Had I known, I would have ordered.
And then we'd be on your podcast right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But just overall, it was just an amazing 3-year experience in my life. It gave me a lot of confidence. Sure. Can you imagine being in front of 50,000 people and they're looking at you, whether it's on Diamond Vision or right at you? Right. It's an indescribable feeling.
Well, I can tell you. I mean, I remember being at Shea Stadium and seeing you guys out there, and I remember it. And I said this to you before. Being at the most amount of Met games, honestly, that I've ever been to in a season were in '86.
Yeah.
Because that was a charmed year, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Even more so than any season in 2000 or whatever. But '86, I was at a ton of games, and a lot of them were good games. And I saw you guys all the time. I saw you in '85 too. But me being there made me feel part of what was happening that year. And made me feel special to that it was a special thing happening, and I was part of it. I can only imagine how it felt for you, because much more so than I was. You were certainly in and creating a lot of that specialness.
Well,
not taking anything away from obviously the Mets or Doc Gooden or anything, but as far as the fans go and being a cheerleader, let's face it, essentially.
Theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, you were part and parcel of all of that, and I
We,
can just imagine how that felt.
I would bring friends of mine to the game to sit with us, and like they couldn't understand what was going on. They were so like really excited. And one of my friends, Frank Boosie, I'll mention his name in case he ever listens to this. He got his name in the paper.
There you go.
The reporter didn't know who he was, and I wasn't going to say no, he's not with us. So Frank got his name in the paper. So it was fun. If I had known you back then, I would have invited you to come.
Sure.
Because it was so surreal. It was just that's the best word I can come up
That's
for
probably a good word for it. Yeah.
You can't believe it until you're actually there, and you see. And we used to see in the distance. We used to see the red lights go on top of the big cameras by the dugout. Right. So that's how we knew we were on TV. At least from that angle.
Right.
And then we got to meet the producer of the Mets back then. Boy, I wish I could remember his name. I would recognize it as soon as I hear it. But we got to go down into the bowels of the stadium, and we got to meet him. So I thanked him. I said, "Thank you so much for putting us on TV so much." And he goes, "Hey, you're part of the game." So
yeah, you really were.
Yeah. One thing I really liked about the K Korner is like it never got old.
No, it was always fun.
It was always fun, and I'll tell a contrasting story. The last Jet game I went to, Fireman Ed was, I think, kind of in his prime, and the JETS. Oh, yeah. So, but we had a guy in our section where I was sitting who was right down in the front row, and he liked the JETS thing too. So he would turn around and he had a whistle, and he would point at everyone, and he would blow his whistle 3 times, and we'd go, JETS, Jets. He would do it after every first down.
No, it gets old quick.
And the Jets were not great. I believe this was Parcells' final game as coach.
Wow. That's the last time you were at a Jet game?
I think so. I was actually at a Jet game. And by probably the middle of the second quarter, we were all just sick to death of J-E-T. And it was like, oh, did he get the first down? Oh, here's the guy with the whistle again. Not so with the K Korner.
Jeez, that's before we did our other show 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was
wow.
Man, that was brutal. But my point is the K Korner never gets old.
I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you.
It's always exciting.
That is it. It wasn't. Go ahead.
You know what freaked me out? I went to a game in Cleveland in 2012 to see the Yankees play the Indians, and they have a Circle K corner. You know the name of the convenience store?
Circle
K.
Yeah.
Circle K corner. He's hanging those Circle K font style Ks. Sure. Then I went to a game in San Francisco in I think 2014, and again they have all Ks lined up on the outfield, right field wall, and they just have to take a thing off to reveal them. And the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame, contacted me after the 1986 World Series, and they asked me to donate one of my signs. I drove it up there. Oh, I made sure they got it. Yeah. And it's on display to this day.
And that would be this right here.
It's on the 3rd floor.
Right there. There you are.
Yeah, there I am with it. Yeah.
Wearing your Elvis shirt.
Yeah, wearing my Elvis shirt. Yeah.
There you go. And just to get a little closer to it right there. And if you look, that's it. I'm assuming that's whose Cy Young is that?
Well, that I believe Nolan Ryan or Sandy Koufax, either one.
Gotcha. Whose shoes? Are those Dwight?
No. Only the K relates to Dwight. The Houston Astros cap in that photo, I think it's Nolan Ryan's cap.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I think I did see it. I think it's Sandy Koufax's.
Yeah, it's got to be Sandy Koufax's.
Because that looks right. Because that's Ryan's strikeout total.
Yeah.
I can't. We'll see what the 513 is. Matt something.
I don't know.
513. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, this is a close up of the K.
Yeah, hand painted, as you can see.
Hand painted, and then this right here, I just blew this up.
There we go.
This K was one of many that were used to count strikeouts notched by Mets rookie Dwight Gooden during games at Chase Stadium in 1984. the season he set the modern-day record for most strikeouts by a rookie pitcher with 276. Amazing.
And then it has donated by Dennis J. Scalzitti. They ask you for a donation, like it's a formal thing with them. Like you could give them anything, but it has to be a donation.
Sure. Yeah. The Museum of Natural History is like that too.
Yeah. Donated by. Either way, it's such a thrill.
Of course, absolutely.
It's such a thrill that I am, a young kid, baseball fan, reading so much about the game, really loving the tradition of the game, and then you're a part of the game.
Yeah,
it's still, to me, feels like it was just a wonderful dream that lasted 3 years. I still can't believe it. I really can't.
Yeah, Pete, I think what we'll do is we'll take a copy of this show and donate it to.
I think we should go up when things open up. We'll go up to the Hall of Fame,
right?
And we'll bring this show,
bring a flash drive or a CD,
and we'll go. Here's our donation.
Here's our donation. If you want to run it in a loop right next to the K, it's good.
That would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. So I remember you telling a story. You guys were, back in the day, you were invited to a lot of the parties.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Oh, I got
talk about that for a little bit.
Well, Carly Simon has a brother, Peter.
Right.
And, I didn't know who he was. I didn't even make the connection. This guy, Peter Simon, comes up to the K Korner one day, and he's taking photographs of us in action and some post photos. Make a long story short, Peter Simon co-authored a book with Jack Lang, who used to be a sports writer for the New York Daily News. Right. And it was a book about the 25th anniversary of the Mets. And we're in it. And but then I was invited to the book release party, which was at Rusty's Restaurant. And, here I am hobnobbing with all kinds of people at that party. And next thing you know, I'm sitting down next to Carly Simon. And she couldn't have been nicer. And she said, Peter is my brother. I says, no, I had no idea. He never mentioned it. I says, but wow. He never mentioned it.
It's funny. And he had done other stuff too.
He was very closely tied with the Grateful Dead. He was a photographer for them. He didn't tell me that. I found that out way after the fact. Either way, we were talking to other people on the team. We were talking to Nelson Doubleday for a while. Nelson Doubleday shook my hand and thanked me. Thank you for all you do. And I'm like, I love doing it. You're welcome. I awesome. Love doing it.
That's awesome.
And I remember at that party, distinctly remember sitting next to Carly and telling her that we tried to get on the David Letterman show. You have to submit back then a VHS tape. We made up like a greatest hits tape of us being interviewed by Joe Franklin. We were on his show 4 times. We, other tapes that I have of other reporters interviewing us. And I said to Carly, I said, we tried getting on David Letterman, but we got rejected. She goes, try again. Sometimes you have to try a few times. We did try again. Again, it wasn't the right time. And I just gave up at that point because I figured if they don't want us on the team, on the show now, after the team won the 86 World Series, we're never getting on.
You're not getting on, yeah.
What
you should have done was you should have invited Larry Bud Melman to come up to the K Korner with you. You'd have got right on.
Oh, man, that would have been great. Oh, I wish you could have told me that back then.
I would have been thinking about it, yeah.
Oh, my God, that would have been great.
That would have been interesting. So, him, that's funny. But that's awesome though. Going to parties and all of that stuff. But I mean, just being there. I've said this story before, and it kind of relates to what you kind of were part and parcel of, and almost what I said before. But like the '86 World Series, because of course we all know, obviously, the most memorable moment, actually isn't when they won. It's the Game 6 with Mookie Wilson's dribbler going through Buckner's legs. But we saw that. But Game 7 was a Monday night, and Monday night I couldn't watch the game. I listened to the game. I was at the Giants Redskins Monday night football game. Being a Mets fan and a Giants fan as I am, and we're sitting in our section. We all had transistor radios with one earbud in. We're watching the Giants game and we're listening to the Mets game. And I distinctly remember they stopped play on the field in the third quarter to announce that the Mets were the world champs. And of course, I heard them win. I heard it on the radio, and then I've obviously later on, and time and time again since, saw Jesse Orozco throwing his mitt up in the air. And,
Yeah.
Gary Carter comes out and hugs him, and the whole place goes nuts and everything else. But yeah, we were at Giant Stadium for that, and the place went nuts. I mean, it erupted probably almost as loud as it erupted in the game for the Mets. It was crazy. But I remember that, like, it was just, and being a Mets Giants fan, that was a perfect time for me, because here that October the Mets win the World Series, and January the Giants win the Super Bowl, so that was pretty special. But my point is that being there with all of that, again, it harkens back to what I said about you guys being there and just being those cheerleaders, being that getting everybody involved. You guys were getting everybody else more involved than they would have been if they just went to the game and you guys weren't there. You were that special to what was happening for Doc Gooden, and any Gooden start over those 3 years. So, but
now if you recall,
mm-hmm.
Dwight Gooden didn't have as good a season in '86 as he did in '85, which actually would be very hard to equal or top his '85 season.
No, he only won 17 games, I think, in '86.
Yeah. Now, if you recall, after they won the World Series,
mm-hmm.
he didn't show up for the victory parade.
He did not. No, he was in Florida. He took off.
Turns out he was in a crack house
mm-hmm.
that day. So that's when we decided, the two of us, me and my friend Bob,
it was done.
We're not going back for '87. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went on the Joe Franklin show because he wanted us on again. And then I told Joe, I said, this is going to be the last time we're going to be on your show. We're announcing our retirement today. And he went, really? He just didn't quite understand. I don't think Joe was really a big baseball fan,
sure,
but he understood enough to know that what we were doing was fun. And then sure enough, in April of '87,
mm-hmm.
we went on his show for the fourth and final time, and we announced our retirement. And I put it on Facebook. I put the interview on Facebook a while back.
Sure.
And I was kind of subdued. I wasn't happy about it because, the innocence was over. Now he got himself in trouble with drugs, and we weren't saying anything bad about him, but I can't support him the way that I did. The innocence was over. Now he would be under a different magnifying glass than ever before.
Right.
And it wouldn't be as much fun.
Right.
It would, if it's not fun, then I don't want to be involved.
Gotcha.
So that's what we did. We told him that we were retiring, and that's when Joe said, "Oh, this is going to be front page news tomorrow." I said, "No, more like page 87 next to the used car ads."
Right.
And, but that was it. We had our fun. I thought that the story was over at the time, and now fast forward from 1987 to I believe it was 2006. I had read in the paper. I had never reached out to Dwight during that long period of time.
Right.
I had every opportunity where I could have done it, and I had his home phone number, but I just never reached out to him. I didn't think it was appropriate. And but for some reason in 2006, he was going to be appearing at a autograph show or signing at a hotel in Ramsey in Paramus on Route 17 South.
Mm-hmm.
I for some reason I thought the time was right, and I reached out to the hotel. I actually went there with some memorabilia from the old days, and I said I would really like to be able to sit down with him before you open your doors to the public. I would just like to talk to him for a little while. Oh, of course, no problem. So they set it up with his manager, his agent, whatever.
Sure. And
sure enough, I went there that day with some memorabilia, and he was happy to see me, and we sat and talked baseball for a whole hour, and then he was like asking me, "Is there anything you need? Is there anything I can do for you?" Like, I guess he's so used to people asking him for things,
right?
And I says, "I just wanted to talk to you as a man, not as a baseball fan, as a friend." And I says, "You could sign this," and I gave him. I don't think fans are even aware of it or not, but he came out with a 12-inch single,
Yep.
a rap song.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yep. Yeah, I remember it.
It was called Dr. K.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I brought about 5 copies with me, and he signed those. And then he asked me if he could have one. And I was kind of surprised. I says, "Really?" I says, you want one? He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I've lost everything in my divorces." I just felt so sorry for him. I really did. I felt very sorry for him because he is actually all right, he's got himself an addiction, but deep down, he's really kind of an innocent, naive kind of a guy.
Right.
He didn't even know what a self-timer was on a camera back then. When I brought my 35 millimeter camera and I took a picture of me and him and Bob. He didn't even know what a self-timer was.
Wow.
Like I say, I think he was kind of naive. He got him with the wrong crowd, obviously, back then.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Mitchell was a total nutcase. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really bad. No, he was bad.
And the other thing was, and this is true today, if these young players, if they're not seeking out information about how to deal with media pressure, how to stay out of trouble, how to deal with finances, there's no course, there's no class,
there's no book to read when you get your contracts.
There's cautionary tales about others who have gone down that road.
Yeah, but there's so many cautionary tales. You should be able to piece together something to keep yourself.
You should, but there ought to be
from it.
There ought to be a course or some sort of instruction that new players go through that say, listen, this is how not to lose your money, to an entourage, and this is how.
Right.
But certainly that didn't exist back in the 80s.
It didn't exist then. No, yeah.
I mean, you're throwing a lamb to the wolves.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it even exists today. I think a lot of these players.
No, it really doesn't.
They're gifted.
There's no formal education about that sort of stuff.
No.
They're gifted physically. But in terms of life, they're really not that smart, and they need somebody next to them at all times, telling them, say this, say that, don't say this, don't say that, don't do this, and don't do that. They need that. They're really not,
especially when they're young and they have their parents looking out for them.
Right?
Yeah.
So they have their parents taking care of things and looking out for them, and then all of a sudden they're 20, 21, 22, and they're thrust into the world and given millions of dollars. And suddenly exposed potentially to a group of people that just want to take from them.
And that's what Dwight was used to. It was obvious.
Sure.
Obvious that was Dwight was used to that. That's why he was constantly asking me during our meeting, is there anything you need? You want me to sign this? You want me to sign that? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what you can do for me? I am going to ask you a favor. The only favor I ever asked you. I says, when you get inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame, I want to be there to cheer you on in your box. He made it happen. So nice. I was there with his family. I was there with his immediate family and friends. And I really appreciated that.
That's awesome.
What was your relationship with him like during those 3 years?
Well,
I
only met with him like a handful of times. I never wanted to ask much of anybody back then. I was just happy. I was just happy to be there. I was just happy that the team gave us a pass, and I didn't have to pay to go to a game. 48 games. I didn't have to pay to park. We parked in the players' lot, so I never paid to go there. So I was happy with that. I didn't want or expect anything. I didn't even want a free hot dog. I never asked for one. Fans would give us hot dogs and stuff like that. Here, can I get you a beer? Can I get you a hot dog? Okay, sure. If you want to. Okay, thank you. But we weren't in it to get anything. We just had fun. And that's
probably why it worked.
Yeah, I think it is. I think because there was no greed involved. You're right. Yeah. I do believe that what goes around comes around. And my heart was pure. I was really there to make the fans happy. It was such an amazing, happy, good feeling to do that, to do something on such a big scale. So I was so grateful for that. And I am to this day. I cannot believe that we're still talking about this 37 years later. It doesn't make sense to me. But, we're part of baseball history. We're a part of Mets history.
It is.
And it's really flattering. I can't thank you enough for even having me on your show. I'm thrilled.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about this all day.
No, we were more than happy to do it. And here's I got a couple of pictures that you had sent over.
All right,
threw them up. Let's. This is back in 1984. You gave Doc a K.
Last day of the season. Last day of the season. Congratulations on a super rookie season. Uh-huh. And that was just amazing. That was taken by a guy from the Daily News, and that is a black and white photograph taken on a medium format camera, which is like a Hasselblad, a really good camera.
Yeah, sure.
And it was black and white. It was not color. Mm-hmm. And I was just so thrilled to be there to give him that. And he told me the following season. He told me that he had it hanging in his apartment, and it just made me so happy.
All right, I got to ask you though, what's with the outfit there?
Oh, that's how I used to dress back then for the games.
It's kind of a Hawaiian theme, or
well, yeah, Hawaiian shorts and the Dr. Scrub for a shirt. But then it evolved.
The Hawaiian shirts, and I see a bunch of lays on there too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you really didn't want to get involved with Ron Darling or Sid Fernandez or anything.
No, I didn't want to push my luck, John. I didn't want to push my luck.
Did any of those guys ever reach out to you and go, "Hey, how about some K's for us"?
Yeah. No, you know what did happen 5 or 6 years ago. I met Ron Darling at a book signing in Ridgewood, and I told him that I was the K Korner. And look on my Facebook. He's looking at me with a look of surprise. He goes, "That was you?" I says, "Yeah." I says, "Our paths never crossed during that time, but I'm so happy to meet you today." That's awesome. And he looked at me with that look of amazement. "That was you?" Yeah. So I eventually did meet him. I met, I told you at that party where I was sitting next to Carly Simon.
Sure.
I saw her make eye contact with Keith Hernandez. Keith was right across the room, and I saw him make eye contact with her. He gave her the googly eyes, and sure enough, I read in the paper like a few days later that they were seen out at a famous restaurant on a date, and I was there when they met.
You were there when they met.
I was right there.
Yeah, well, and 80s Carly Simon is a pretty spectacular version of Carly Simon, no question about that.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Here's a shot of you at that book signing, I believe. At the
no, this was at the hotel in
the hotel in Ramsey, not the book signing, the hotel in Ramsey. Yeah.
Now I'm giving Dwight a framed version of that picture of me giving him a K, and I know it's surreal.
Now, did he still have that K at this time? Do you know?
I didn't ask him. I assume that he did. I didn't ask him though,
unless he lost it in one of the divorces.
He may have lost it in one of his divorces.
Possibly. Yeah. So here, I got them side by side for you too. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he had both, that would be awesome to have those two things hanging up next to each other.
And what's funny is I'm like 30, 40 pounds heavier in that picture than I am today. I wish I could have, wasn't a fat version of me, but
yeah,
that's all good. Look who you're talking to. But in any event, I digress. Here's another one here's the T-shirt you made up with. I think is that Bob in the picture?
Yeah, that's 1985 when we presented him with that shirt down by the clubhouse door. Yeah, Dwight looks really good in that picture.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He looks good. But yeah, we used to dress in the crazy shorts.
I was gonna say,
the bandanas. Well, we had our own line of K Korner merchandise. In fact, if you put me back on the camera, I will show you. We had a mail order company.
Sure.
I'm not sure if you can read it. Maybe I have to go back here.
There you go. Yeah.
We had these flyers made up. I'll read it. You've seen those crazy guys at the games. You've seen them on television. Now you can be a part of the excitement. Introducing the K Korner official line of merchandise.
There you go.
And we sold the bumper stickers for $1.95, buttons for $1.95, an authentic K autographed by both of us for only $2.95, a bandana for $3.95, and the one and only K shirt, and that was $7.95.
There you go, $7.95.
Now this is 1985.
Sure.
Things were cheaper,
yeah.
And we wanted to keep it affordable.
You guys were the original 7-Line Army swag that they sell now at the stadium.
Did you guys ever hear from
Darren's
Ralph Kiner, like Kiner's Corner, K
Well,
Korner?
I met Ralph Kiner in. It was either 84 or 85. I met Ralph Kiner in one of those offices that I was telling you about inside the stadium.
Right.
This was I'm taking a guess. This was mid-afternoon, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He had whiskey on his breath. Oh, I'll never forget it. He was drunk.
There you go.
Guy drank a lot. Drank a lot. But I was happy to meet him.
He had I was going to say a 3 martini lunch, but Yeah, if he had whiskey on his breath, and he wasn't making the martinis correctly.
No,
But,
and then I met I had Bob Murphy autograph my 62 Mets yearbook.
Nice.
And then I met Tim McCarver. Tim McCarver really wasn't very friendly. Well, what can I say? Maybe he was having a bad day.
Could have been having a bad day.
Steve Zabriskie, very friendly, very, very friendly. He was the one who told us, he says, you guys are more popular than the 24th, 25th man on the roster.
Yeah, you actually probably were.
And the response was, I don't know, who is that?
At the time, it was probably a reserve infielder.
Yeah. That's funny. That is really funny.
Yeah, it was just the whole experience was so couldn't have dreamed it up. Right. I couldn't have written a script like that. Mm-hmm. But especially when we would get out of the car to go into the stadium. Mm-hmm. I mean, fans right off the bat recognized us. I had my big box of signs under my arm, and I had longer hair, and and the bandanas and the silly outfits, and they would come running after us. And I mean, running after us like the Beatles. And it was like they just wanted to touch us. They wanted to get our autograph. They wanted to take a photograph with us. And I never once was disrespectful ever to them.
Before selfies were actually a thing, they hold the camera out and try and make sure you got it.
Yeah, people had
half your forehead in, and
when people carried cameras and posing with families, posing with couples, posing with individual people. I never once got sick of it. And the reporters are people that I used to see on TV. And you got these microphones in your face. Sure. You got 3 or 4 microphones, and you're giving an interview to several of them at the same time. And if I couldn't hear them, I would always, could you please repeat that? So we were always so polite with the media. That's why they loved us, because it's like we're cooperating. We're answering their questions honestly. We're not drunk. And so
that was probably a refreshing thing.
That's definitely a refreshing thing at that point.
It all added up to a very, very positive, happy experience. All of that I just mentioned, all of that.
You guys got a lot of press too.
Yeah.
Here you go. There's an article on you guys showing your props and everything else. That's probably in Jersey somewhere, right?
That's in my backyard.
There you go. I was going to say that's not Shea Stadium. That's not.
And I'm
you look a little.
It's not even Corona Park. It's not. Yeah, there's too many woods there.
Bob has the foam finger in his right hand, and I have a lobster in my left hand, a plastic lobster. Yeah. We used to bring the weirdest things to the games and show them. We would show them to the fans, and they just laugh. They would point and laugh, and they were laughing.
You look a little like Ralph Macchio in The Karate Kid there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could take that as a compliment if you want to.
I'll take it as a compliment.
It's just I think that it's a little resemblance.
There you go. Yeah, look, I can see it, especially with the bandana.
With the I think it's the bandana that does it. Yeah.
There you go. If only you were doing the crane technique right there, then maybe you could tell a little bit better.
That's Crane with a K, of course.
Crane with a K, of course. Yes, absolutely. And this is from the 85 yearbook.
Yeah, the 1980, not the Mets yearbook.
Not your Mets yearbook.
Actually, we're in the 1985 Mets yearbook.
Okay.
It shows us the night that he had 16 Ks against the Pirates toward the end of the season. I think it was the last home game of the season or last game that he pitched. Either way, that's in the 1985 Mets yearbook.
Right.
This is the 1985 Sporting News yearbook,
right.
which would come out every year. Not anymore now. They don't have it anymore. But there we are in our glory. Now that's me and Leo to my left, and that's me holding the K above my head.
Sure.
For anybody who doesn't know what the K Korner is, well, really, there you go. That's self-explanatory.
That's what it was.
That's when they had no fans up in the upper deck.
This is
there's 2 people in the front row there,
and you guys,
security guard behind.
Security guard. That's it.
And that's it.
That was it.
No. There's one guy down in the corner. Maybe there's a couple behind Dwight's picture, but there's 4 other human beings in this picture.
and that's 84. You fast forward 86, and that section was packed.
Let me ask you about that. How does it work when there's other people up there with you when the house is full?
We only had a pass to get into the stadium. We didn't have an assigned seat.
That's
even though
kind of that's what I'm.
even though it said Section 42, if fans were there, the answer to your question, we had to sit on those concrete steps. That was it for the
But
whole
they
game.
let you do it, but the security people let you do it because
Well,
you
yeah,
were
we were the
part
only,
of the team at that point. Yeah.
we were the only people allowed to sit on the steps during the game.
Right.
Everyone else was told to please move. But yeah, we were not allowed to sit in a seat if someone else was sitting there. And I never would think I would never think of asking anyone to move.
Right. No, but that was kind of the point of my question is you had a pass to get in, but you didn't have a ticket with a seat number on it. So what did you do when it was full? So yeah, just sit on the steps. Yeah,
it wasn't very comfortable, but we did it.
I got to be honest with you. You know, a lot of Mets games I go to, recently, very rarely, except when I'm eating or maybe the beginning of the game, keeping score for the first couple innings or whatever. Other than that, I'm walking around anyway. I'm making my way, touring around Citi Field. Unless the game is like a nail biter and, I got to be watching every pitch after maybe like, say, the third or fourth inning. But that's, still, walk over and sit in a couple other seats and find your way around. But 86, Shea Stadium was packed.
Oh, and yeah, sure was.
Yeah. It was quite something to say.
Driving home from there has never been easy.
No, it's never easy.
Oh my God, took us forever to get out of there.
Sure. Which is why tailgating, post game tailgating, is always a good thing.
Yeah,
you stay long enough, you just fly home.
Yeah, we never did that. We never tailgated before or after the games ever. Gotcha. We literally went, did our job, went home. Punched the time clock when we got to the stadium, punched it when we went out. We were there to entertain people, but then when it was over, we wanted to get out of there. And that's what we did.
Gotcha.
I got to go to a game once years ago. I worked in radio, so I had a newsman. Yeah, a little bit. So I was a morning show host, and I had a newsman, and so of course he had a press pass. So we went to a Met game, and he had gone the night before, and I was sort of his allotment for the press pass for the weekend. But he wanted to go the next day, so we showed up. He talked his way in. He was a great guy. Jay Oliver's his name. I'll name check him. So he talked his way in, but we didn't really have an official spot to go.
Sure.
So we ended up going to the the auxiliary television crew room, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
And which was just a little booth. And what was really cool about it was on one side, and this was a Mets-Yankees game. 2003, maybe somewhere around there, post 9/11. Okay. So on one side was the WFAN crew.
Right? Yeah,
was Gary Cohen and whoever else was over there, and then on the booth next to us was John Sterling and it was the Yankees crew. So I had the radio announcers. I was in heaven.
Both, yeah.
So I was sitting in this nice booth, and we had the glass, and there was no one else in there, just us. And then he brought a friend of his, a doctor friend or something, and had the radio announcers on either side of me. And I was like, "Oh, there's those guys!" And we got to go in the press dining area and eat, and you could go in there and get ice cream and stuff.
That's cool.
And it was a wonderful experience. But my point is, when the game ended, I didn't want to leave.
No.
I said, why don't we just hang out here for a little while and let some of the traffic, and kind of watch the stadium kind of close down, maybe half an hour, and then they came around and go, who are you guys and why are you here? Press, we're press. But it was a great experience.
That was great, yeah.
But yeah, I would have hung out there for who knows until they literally did throw us out.
There's so many stories, so many good stories, some interesting stories, but I could sit and talk about them all day. That can be the theme of another Mets Corner special podcast. But yeah, this is reminiscent about the K Korner. Hearing everything from your mouth and your words and your experiences and directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak, was definitely great. And I definitely appreciated hearing every story and looking at all the pictures and and reminiscing about it all. And like I said, being there and seeing you guys, a couple times. I think I went to a couple of Gooden games in '85, but definitely got to probably. Of all the games I went to in '86, I probably went to about 4 or 5 Gooden games. So definitely saw you guys a lot over those couple of years, and you definitely were a big part of the crowd's, non-baseball entertainment, even though it was baseball entertainment. And you were getting them in. You were like I said, and make no mistake, I don't mean anything demeaning by that. You were definitely the premier cheerleaders, cheering section. How's that?
Cheering section
of the of that stadium during Doc Gooden games, and it really did add a lot to the experience of those games. So that's my take on it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, listen, this was very educational for me. Obviously, I knew about the K Korner, but I didn't realize how big a thing it really was. So it was definitely a learning experience for me today. So
and now
just to let you know, Davey Johnson, the Mets manager, was not a fan of the K Korner. He specifically said, I remember I bought a scorecard one day, one of the games. I just happened to read this article about Dwight Gooden in this scorecard story. And Davey Johnson said, I want Dwight to focus on just getting the batter out. I don't want him to focus on getting the strikeout. He goes, so he's referring to us. And the heck was I getting at? What was I alluding to? So, Dwight himself told me when I met with him, where was it, 14 years ago now it is, wow. He told me that he would always look up at us to see how many strikeouts he had, and it motivated him. So that's from his mouth. Right. He said, I always would look up after every K and just to count to see how many I had. And that spurred him on.
There you go. So you guys were part of his, he had, what was it, 540 some odd strikeouts in 2 years, in between '84 and '85. And hey, you know what? You helped him get there. How's that?
Yeah, that's a nice feeling. It's a very nice feeling to know that we had that kind of an influence on the game that I love so much. Yeah, on the game that I love so much. Hard for me to comprehend it even now. Really is.
And Davey Johnson was never known for his personality anyway. So.
No, I really didn't care when I read that article. I really didn't care. I thought, well, we're going to be here anyway, unless he kicks us out. We're going to be here. We're doing our thing. We're spurring him on. Tough luck if you don't like it.
Let's put it this way. Davey Johnson's boss wanted you there.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And his boss too.
Of course.
And his boss.
David Johnson's boss's boss wanted you there too.
Right. Of course. And that's why Nelson Doubleday shook my hand and said, Thank you for all you do. Exactly. I'm like, yeah, that's the ultimate confirmation that you're doing something good. When the real big guy tells you that.
Absolutely. And you could have him say, thank you for all you've done, even though regardless of the fact that my manager doesn't like the fact I'm happy you're doing it.
No, I didn't want to say anything about it. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to ruffle. I was not there to ruffle any feathers or to ask anybody of anything. I didn't ask for anything.
Gotcha.
And so that's that. We had so much fun. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that we had everyone on our side. We didn't have anybody, sit down and get out of the way, and none of that. None of that.
They were all with you. They were there right with you.
Fans were all on board. And then in the World Series, Nike gave me a box about that tall. I don't know if you can see.
Right.
Yeah, Nike gave me a cardboard box with or 2 boxes with cardboard their K logo on them. And they weren't very big. They were maybe like a foot long, maybe. Right. And Nike asked us to pass them out to all the fans at the World Series game, which we did. Mm-hmm. So therefore, when we stood up with their big K above our heads, swaying back and forth, we told the fans to do the exact same thing, to follow us, to be in unison. And that didn't make it on TV because I had asked somebody. And that would have been cool to see it on TV. Everyone in our section, 5,000 people swaying back and forth at the same time. But Gooden didn't even have a good World Series. He was terrible, actually. I think, what did he have, 3 or 4 Ks? It was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
They won the World Series.
They won the World Series. That's what matters.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It was funny. I got on an ESPN broadcast once. about 4 years ago, end of April. We're at a Mets Nationals Sunday night game, so I was on ESPN, and we were fortunate enough to be sitting in front row seats behind home plate, and first row, the leather seats they're all the way over by the Nationals bullpen. I was like 5 feet away from Dusty Baker. In fact,
Wow.
I was yelling at Bryce Harper too, and
that was you.
I was heckling him, and he was anytime he went in the batter's box, and he was literally laughing. He was smiling like.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was.
Well, you couldn't have been saying anything that bad.
No, I wasn't being vulgar or nasty or anything.
That's good.
But in any event, there was one point, Wheeler was pitching, and he struck a batter out. It was either the second strike or it was a strikeout, and it was the second strike because he fouled the ball off and his bat broke, and the barrel of the bat went flying, and the nets are behind home plate.
Yeah.
Well, at the end where we were over by the dugout, it dips down to only like 5 feet high. So we're sitting down. The barrel of the bat literally went right over our heads. And some guy about 8 rows back literally caught it. Didn't hit anybody. And he, like Luis Guillorme, that scene from last year, the year before, where the batter let go of the bat, and he just nonchalantly just leaning on the dugout steps, just reaches up and grabs the bat and then tosses it back to him. This guy just grabbed the barrel of the bat, but obviously the cameras followed it. Within 10 seconds of that happening, I'm getting like texts like crazy. Dude, you were just on TV. Yeah. But that was funny. So that was my one 5 seconds on TV at a Mets game. So, but
it's too bad you didn't have a K with you.
Too bad I didn't have a K on me, because that would have been for Wheeler, strikeout. That would have been a W, right? I think.
Yeah.
That's what you should have done after you stopped doing the K Korner for Gooden. A year or two after that, they got Frank Viola. After he won the World Series with the Twins, he came to the Mets. You should have started hanging V's over for Frank.
No,
Viola.
you know what? Other people copied off us when David Cone pitched. Right. They would hang the cone heads, they called them.
Right. I remember that.
But they never got interviewed by the press. If you notice, they showed them.
Yeah,
they showed them, but they never interviewed them.
Well, it wasn't an original idea. Yours was the original idea.
Right, and other guys had the S corner for Sid Fernandez.
Right.
Again, they showed him on TV, never interviewed him. Right. So we were the only fans to be interviewed, and the only fans to sign that shoe contract with Nike.
Awesome. You still have any of those Nike Ks that they?
I have everything. Yeah.
You have everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You still have any of your Ks?
Oh, I have things downstairs. Yeah, I have my Ks. I have the K Korner.
26 of them, and there's one in the hall.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh no, they
gave one to Gooden. So.
We would have to replace them. Like, in other words, like let's say I did a game tonight. Right. Game is over. If fans came over, a lot of times I would sign them and give them to people.
Sure.
So I had to replace them. I had to make new ones the following week, and they were constantly being replaced. There wasn't the original set of Ks from '84 that lasted. No, I replaced them.
I imagine any night with a little mist or some light rain in the game.
Sure.
And a whole new set of Ks the next day.
Yeah. Thankfully, that didn't happen often. It happened actually. Funny you should say that, when they had the playoff game against Houston in 1986. It was, and it was raining that game fairly steady. And that game we had our sombreros on. So the sombreros were catching the rain, and we would just tilt our head down, and all the water would come out. And the Ks were getting soaking wet. Yeah,
that's great. Do you have any? Do you have even just one of the original Ks that you made in '84?
Well, yeah, it's hanging up in a frame because I had Dwight sign it.
Awesome.
I met him for the first time in June of '84, where we got to go on the field right behind home plate during batting practice, and I had him sign that. So that autographed K is hanging in my house. Yeah, that's an original from '84.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So you know what, these stories, we can go on and on, all night long. There's just so many other, any other interesting one-liners, if you will, or one like this happened this time kind of thing. There's something you left out. I mean, you've been pretty damn thorough. So, they're.
Well, we were, like I say, we were invited to other celebrity parties I don't even remember what they were for. All I can say is we were there. Like they wanted, the New York media wanted us to be there. At the time, we were hot, At the time, we were something to talk about.
Right.
So they wanted the K Korner to be there. And, we'd show up and had no idea what the event was. Really didn't even, nobody ever told us. And I'm like, just happy to be here. They gave us an address. Yeah, show up at 247 8th Ave at 6 o'clock. Yeah, we were there. And, and we were told is that it was a celebrity event. And, we'd meet people and stuff. And it was pretty wild. I mean, we just went with the flow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm just trying to think of any really funny stories I could tell you right now. And there was just so many of them. It was wild.
It
was wild.
That's great.
Fans. Well, the fans themselves were real characters. And, girls wanted to go out with us and people wanted to buy us drugs, and it's crazy. It was just crazy to have so many people so close to you and like literally touching you. Like they wanted to touch us all the time. They wanted to touch. And we just went along with it. As long as they weren't trying to hurt us,
right.
We didn't mind. We would go to nightclubs and people would say, "Oh, we saw you on the Joe Franklin show the other night," or "Saw you at the game." It was wild. It was wild to have 3 years of my life like that.
Right.
And it was cool.
You were a celebrity.
What? What?
You were a celebrity for 3 years.
You were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's a celebrity much after that too. So.
Well, I hosted trivia at the bar that you were manager at.
There you go. And we keep getting a couple of comments. Somebody says hello, right here. Maria.
Hey, Maria's here. Hi, Maria.
And she wants to. She put this comment up, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about it. He will have all the stories in his upcoming book.
Well, yeah, I had told Maria that I want to write a few books actually.
Okay.
But the first book that would resonate with the most amount of people would be a book about the K Korner.
That'd be awesome.
Most people would know about it who were sports fans back then. I don't know about young kids today, 20-year-old kids. They would have no idea. But at least people 45 and older,
right,
they'll remember it.
Sure.
So that's the first book I want to write. And I actually started writing the book. Another book about my crazy marriage.
Oh,
that's a subject for Dr. Phil, actually.
I was going to say, yeah, you might want to get somebody else to write at least the forward for it.
Another book about my father, who was just such a great man.
Right.
So at least 3 books in the can that I want to write. But yeah, I had told Maria about writing a K Korner book. And I hope within a year I can put that out there. And I have a couple connections who could get it done. So I'm just crossing my fingers that I would love. It would be a dream of mine, because I attend other book signings. I would love to
do a book signing.
Oh my God, that'd be such a dream come true.
Well, let me tell you something. If I'm not even going to say when that happens and when you actually release the book, definitely one of your release appearances can be on this show.
Sure. That'd be great.
But yeah, it's crazy to think that it's been that long since all of that went down. And like you said too, sadly, I gotta say, like I'm a Mets fan, and we've talked about this before. Well, I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Mets fan first. I have my second. I have a second team. I have my third team. I'm not one of these like yourself. I'm not one of these fans of, if I'm in the New York area or whatever. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Giants fan. I don't hate the Yankees. I don't hate the Jets. I don't hate any local team. In fact, I don't hate any baseball team, period. I might have some disdain for a few players around the league who shall remain nameless. But in any event, I might have mentioned one of their names earlier on the show. But
mostly remain nameless, we'll say.
But we'll mostly remain nameless. But in any event, no, seriously, I don't have any ill will for any team or players around the league. Like I said, I'm a Mets fan first. I'm a baseball fan second.
Yeah.
And that being that is, I'm a big, huge fan of sports history, especially baseball history.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go all the way back to the 1800s with baseball history. And clearly, I was born well after the 1800s were around. But sadly, there's less and less I see, younger people. And there are plenty. There are still out there. But I think it's less and less of a draw to younger kids. And obviously, social media and cell phones and electronic stuff and, has a big, a lot to do with it. And I do hope that changes. And I do hope, they do look into sports history, because it's really awesome to read what happened years ago. You had to watch old games. I mean, I can't tell you how many times after the pandemic started when there's no baseball, how many times I watched the 69 World Series, the 73 World Series on, SNY or MLB, the 75 World Series. But in any event, when, the 75 World Series with, who was it?
Carlton Fisk.
Carlton Fisk with the,
yeah.
Wait,
how about
go fair,
MLB even showed the 1968 World Series, which I had never seen.
Yeah.
So I was watching those games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I told you in a private conversation, when I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
I used to we used to have activities after school, activity clubs, I guess you call them.
Sure.
And I was in the baseball history club. And that's just like a trivia lover's paradise.
Sure, absolutely.
Talking about things from 150 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just absorbed all that information. So, and now I'm friends with the Spanish teacher who was the head of that club, Al DiTolo. I'm friends with him on Facebook now, which is really cool. And little did I know, being a member of the Baseball History Club, that I would become a part of baseball history.
Yeah, there you go.
That's another part of the story that's like really wild.
That's pretty awesome. You think about it. You get to that point and you're like, wow, think about that,
Hard to comprehend.
I'm going to talk about trivia. I'll put you on the spot. I'll ask you one trivia question.
All right, go ahead.
And I'll, I'll ask, I'll ask you first. And then if you don't get it, I'll defer to Pete, see if he can get some. But,
I might know this.
There have been 35 different managers of the Yankees. There have been 22 different managers of the Mets, 23 if you count Carlos Beltran, but before he resigned. But in any event, of those, 4 managers were managers for both the Yankees and the Mets.
Casey Stengel, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Torre, number 2. Dallas Green, number 3. And who's the 4th one? The most recent one. How come I'm drawing a blank? The most recent one. Give me a clue. Just give me a small clue.
I'll give you a small clue. It's not the most recent one. The most recent one is Dallas Green.
Oh, it is? Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. So Dallas Green, Joe Torre, Casey Stengel.
You're missing number 2.
Number 2. Oh, Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra. Okay.
Willie Randolph was a coach for the Yankees, but never a manager.
Yeah, correct.
He was a manager of the
Now that question, I asked that question at one of the trivia gigs at 381 Main.
You did. Yes, you did.
I remember.
Yeah, you did. One guy got it right. Who was that?
One guy got it right?
One guy got it right.
What do you mean
One contestant in the trivia game got the answer for that.
Probably you.
There you go. But, Pete, would you have answered that question?
I probably would have guessed Yogi. That's what I was thinking.
Gotcha. But yeah, so they're
I wouldn't have gotten Dallas Green though.
You would have gotten Casey and Joe Torre, obviously.
and Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
so there you go. Yeah, so I would have come close.
And amazing
story of my life.
There you go. And we've talked about this before too.
That's going to be the name of my book.
The name of your book is Almost. Please write that. Almost.
The name of my book.
That's a great book. You got to write that. Pete.
The name of my book is going to be Brought to You by the Letter K.
Brought to you by the letter K. There you go. Well, you better trademark that before somebody else writes that book. So.
Oh, please.
There you go.
I'll think of a couple other titles in that case.
I was just going to say one other thing is that Casey Stengel, first manager of the Mets, was the only person to be involved with all 4 New York sports teams. Baseball teams. New York Mets, New York Yankees, New York Giants, and New York Dodgers.
Brooklyn Dodgers.
Brooklyn Dodgers, yeah. Casey Stengel he played for the Dodgers and the Giants. Managed the Dodgers, managed the Yankees, and coach for the Dodgers, managed the Yankees, managed the Mets. But only one other person was involved with all 4 of those same teams, but the Dodgers and the Giants when they had gone out west, and that of course was
Darryl Strawberry.
Darryl Strawberry, right? But in any event, enough of the trivia. And
I would have gotten neither of those.
No, again. So, but in any event, the baseball history is such an interesting thing for me, and I hope it continues. And I could sit and talk about it all day. But as far as the K Korner goes, you are absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. You're a student of baseball history. You were a member of the baseball history club in high school, and now you're part of baseball history.
It's hard to believe, right?
Yeah,
hard to believe.
So, well, we want to thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate it. Had a great time. Definitely when you write that book and you release it, if not even before, we'll definitely have you back on the show to wax nostalgic, and maybe we'll do a baseball history corner. And we'll just talk about a lot of interesting topics that aren't really talked about, but are interesting nonetheless as far as baseball history buffs go. So,
baseball is different from the other sports in that regard. How many people sitting down and talk about football history? Although I know quite a bit, nobody really talks about football history or basketball history. Do you really? Yeah,
I do.
Well, that's cool. I mean, hockey history. Does anybody really talk about hockey?
I've talked hockey and basketball history. Depends on who I'm talking to. I've talked more baseball history than anything.
Yeah,
and
right.
Second would be football. Third would be basketball, and then fourth would be hockey.
Yeah, and there you go.
In that order. But
listen,
baseball would probably be at least 50% of all of it.
What did Pete say?
So, I'm sorry.
What did Pete say?
I do a podcast with John and Harry every week, and as far as football history goes, all you got to do is mention the New York Giants, and they're off and running.
And Harry and I,
you and Harry will talk about the Giants for a good 15-20 minutes. And I just kind of sit back and try and absorb it.
You sit back, you take a couple sips of your coffee or water or whatever it is you're drinking, and you sit back and absorb it. We've talked Jets.
Just learn a few things about the day. We did, yeah, but there's not so much good Jets history to talk about. But
no,
there's not
but listen, we're going to be
Dennis.
We're going to be your new Joe Franklin show.
Yes.
Oh, that's
absolutely.
great. That's great.
We're going to have you on. We're going to have you on multiple times.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
And then we'll just keep having to bump Matt Damon though at the end of the show. That's the,
you got to do what you got to do.
So, but in any event, no, we'll definitely do that, and we'll definitely have you back for the book signing, and most likely before that, and we'll have some baseball history stuff and everything.
Great, sounds fantastic.
Absolutely. No, this was a blast. This was a great. Always great talking about baseball history. Always great talking about Mets history, and always great waxing nostalgic about the K Korner and all that it meant to Doc Gooden and the Mets and the fans, especially the fans back in '84 through '86. That was awesome.
Especially the fans.
And as a fan. I speak for many, if not all, of the fans. I thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. Thank you. So
thank you. Thanks for doing that, and thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well,
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, we'll wrap the show up for today. Dennis, don't go anywhere. We'll end the show, and we'll talk to you for a second. But
okay.
We'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.loggerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Logger Room. Remember, we go live with the regular sports podcast every week on Wednesday night on both Facebook and YouTube. Again, every Wednesday night at 7:30. We do these special sports podcasts on Mondays and Fridays on occasion, so you'll always be made aware of them when they do happen. For those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Thanks for watching the show. Dennis, again, thank you so much for coming on and all that you did for the Mets and the fans back then. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Let's go Mets. In Pete Alonso's words, hashtag LFGM. And have a wonderful week. Hopefully they get a win tomorrow and not another rainout. And we will talk to you soon. Have a great week, folks. Take care.
See you Wednesday, everybody.
See you Wednesday, folks.
Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
My pleasure.